Okay, picking up where we left off in part one of creating this flower, I am going to walk very quickly through creating the other forms here. Okay, so we're going to work very quickly, and I'm going to modify things along the way. I don't want to bore you too much, so I won't have you watch every single petal here. But what I will do is just, maybe we'll do this one over here, and then I'll show you the next step. Once all those points and paths have been created, I'll show you what happens after that in the process. So what we'll do is we will start on a straight line segment. Now, a lot of times they'll start here on a curve, and I don't really like to do that. I find that if I can start where there's a straight area, it definitely helps me. It just gets me started pretty easily. I don't have to worry about coming back and tweaking that as much in the end, because I know that it's going to be a straight in from here at the end. So we're going to start right here, and I'm going to set a point. And just like we did before, I'm going to go through and I'm going to create, very loosely, going to create my points. Again, we're just finding where things change in this, all right? Where do the changes occur? I think I have one here, and I have one here. This is a gigantic curve here, here, and here, all right? So again, I have them all set up, very loose. If we turn off that sketch layer, you can see it looks absolutely nothing like it should, and that's because we're working through the process here. We're going through everything. All right, so what I will do now is I will go in and create my curves. Now, I'm going to go back over here to the pen tool, down to the anchor point tool. Really, the tools that I use the most are the pen tool. I use the anchor point tool and the direct selection tool, which is right up here. I use that 90% of the time when I'm working with the pen tool. Rarely do I ever use the add anchor point or delete anchor point, because with some modifier keys or just really hovering over a path, I can add these or delete these at any time. So again, pen tool, anchor point tool. Sometimes it's called the convert anchor point, I believe, in other versions of Illustrator. And then the direct selection tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to hold down my command key or control key. That's going to allow me to select just that point. And now I'm going to drag out my curves. So I'm going to just try to get it just right. Now, remember before how I said, you're going to see some things go on that you don't quite like. Well, right now, this anchor point on the this handle on the other side of this point, you can see it's mirroring. So I'm dragging up and to the right to affect the curve down on the lower left. And when I let go, I've just made this curve as best as I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my command key, which brings up temporarily my direct selection tool. See, that's direct selection. Holding down command or control allows me to click on it and just move it. So I'm going to move that. Remember how I said in my sketching, my points aren't always the best. And what I'm now doing is using that same command key still held down. I'm selecting just this handle over here, just this handle. So it's no longer mirroring on the other side. It's no longer doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to bring that over, just get it a little bit closer. And there we go. Now, in an earlier movie, I showed how this curves in. We can see this is curving in. So anytime you have a shift like that, what I like to do is set up another point. I said to use as few points as possible, but I think we're still pretty good here. So I'm going to go back to my pen tool. Also the S key, the S command key, or the S key, yes, S key on your keyboard will do a quick selection of that pen tool. I'm going to select, I'm just going to click a point here, And then temporarily again, to activate my direct selection tool, I'm going to hold down my Command or Control key, and I'm going to drag this down. Now it's not perfect, but I'm going to try to get at least some of it over here on the right. I'm going to try to get that close. All right, so we're pretty close here, pretty close. But what I want to do is now, still with my Command key held down, it's giving me temporary access to, again, the direct selection tool. I'm going to select this anchor, bring that down. Now I'm going to select the point that joins. See, I'm just going around and selecting, still holding down my Command key. Now, earlier versions of Illustrator may or may not do this. What I do want to do is take a break here and show you another thing that I haven't shown you. It's really kind of neat. So what I want to do is show you this. Holding down my Command key, I'm going to select this point here. And remember how we dragged out anchors? We came over here to the anchor point tool. We're going to select that, and I'm going to drag out an anchor. All right, so it's mirroring. It's doing the same thing, same length handle on both sides, and that's fine. So, because you're going to see in a second how we're going to fix that. Let's try to get this curve right in here. Let's try to get this curve good. So what I'm talking about is the curve. See how I'm dragging way out to the left and pulling it back in? We're going to try to match my drawing, that curve there underneath. So I've done that, no problem. I do have a problem now, though. You see how this has totally come off the sketch. Easy fix. Not holding anything down, and still with my anchor point tool or convert anchor point tool, still with that selected, I'm going to just click on that handle and I'm going to bend it back. So it's now kind of pulling it around into the angle that I need. And it's taking that curve and bringing it back. So just with that small thing, I'll zoom in here. Let's take a look. Just with affecting this, the handles here on this corner, we created this whole curve. We didn't have to do anything here. All right, so working back over here, we're going to go do this part here, and then I will show you how it will look in the final in the next lesson. But let's go ahead and take care of this. I'm going to select Command or Control. That's going to give me temporary access again to my direct selection tool. Command or Control does that. And now I'm going to let go of everything, and I'm going to drag out my line or my handle here. Again, it's mirrored perfectly, just like a seesaw. All right, so I'm letting go. Now we do have a little thing in here. You know, I actually like this a little bit better because I know that my sketch, though I'm okay at sketching, I know that the computer, in this case, has made a perfect curve. And I'm happy with it, so I'm going to leave that. But now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this handle with nothing held down on my keyboard. I'm going to drag this handle out. Now, you see what happens when I do this? Watch this. If I were to let go right there, and then we selected it and looked at it, we now have this corner up here like that. We don't want that. It's not following the sketch that I've done. So Command Z, that'll take us back to our last thing, and I'm going to select that point, and then I'm going to, with nothing held down but my mouse button, I'm going to drag this out. That gives me a much better result. Now you see how I'm kind of keeping the angle the same. I'm just dragging it out because I still want a nice smooth curve. If I do this, it's not going to be a smooth curve. If I do this, it's not going to be a smooth curve leading up to this point here. So I'm going to drag out and really just try to visually keep it on the same line as the other anchor handle. The other handle, okay? Got it right about, let's go a little bit further, right there. So again, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me go around to this one. I'm just gonna make some adjustments. Just dragging out here. And just like we did up here, I'm going to first get my direct selection tool by hitting Command or Control, and then I'm going to drag out an anchor. I'm going to keep this like that and pull this one down. So that doesn't look so bad. Let's take a look. Yep, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. You're always going to fine-tune things along the way, but I think this looks pretty good. And I think with that, I can show you in the next lesson, I'll speed forward and show you the result of everything and what I'll do with it next.